What if I told you that everything you can see, everything you can touch, is just a tiny, tiny fraction of what's actually out there? Today, we're diving headfirst into the biggest, most mind-bending questions in science, the ones that still have the experts totally stumped. And really, it all kicks off with the most basic question you can ask. Why is there, well, anything? I mean, think about it. According to physics, the Big Bang should have cooked up equal parts matter and antimatter. And if that happened, poof, they would have wiped each other out in a flash, leaving behind absolutely nothing. But we're here. You're here. That simple, stubborn fact that we exist at all is, honestly, the starting point for all the biggest mysteries. So today, we're going to go on a little tour. We're looking at three of the absolute biggest puzzles out there. We're going to start at the scale of the entire universe, then zoom all the way into the mystery inside our own minds, and finish up with a crazy powerful explosion that happened over 100 years ago. You ready? Let's get into it. All right, first stop, the whole entire universe. I mean, we've gotten pretty good at this, right? We've mapped out countless galaxies, we've stared back to the very beginning of time, but here's the wild part. It turns out all that stuff we can see, it's barely anything at all. Okay, take a look at this. This chart is, well, it's mind-blowing. See that little sliver? That 5%? That's everything. Every star, every galaxy, every planet, the device you're watching this on, you, me, all of it is in that tiny slice. The other 95% of the universe, it's a total mystery. It's made up of two things we can't see at all, dark matter and dark energy. So you're probably asking, if we can't see it, how in the world do we know it's there? Fair question. Well, it all started when astronomers were looking at how galaxies spin. They did the math, and the gravity from all the stars and gas they could see, it just wasn't enough, not even close. Based on what we see, these galaxies should be flying apart, just flinging stars out into deep space. So there has to be something else there, something invisible, providing a ton of extra gravity, like a cosmic glue holding it all together. And that something is what scientists call dark matter. It's the best idea we have for where all that missing gravity is coming from. And here's the crazy part. We know it's there, we can see its gravitational pull on everything around it, but we have no clue what it actually is. It's completely invisible to every single instrument we have. Okay, so if dark matter is like the universe's invisible scaffolding, holding things together, what about that other huge chunk, that's 68%? What is dark energy? Well, this is where things get even weirder. It's the biggest thing in the cosmos, and it's doing something that, frankly, shouldn't be possible. You see, for most of the 20th century, scientists figured the expansion of the universe must be slowing down, right? I mean, gravity pulls things together, that makes sense. But then, in 1998, they were looking at these really distant exploding stars, supernova, and they found something that just blew their minds. The expansion isn't slowing down, it's speeding up. Some mysterious anti-gravity force is pushing the entire universe apart faster and faster, and that is what we call dark energy. Okay, let's pull way, way back. From the unimaginable emptiness of deep space, let's zoom into the most complicated thing we've ever found in the universe. The 3-pound lump of tissue between your ears. The human brain. And believe me, the mystery in here is every bit as deep and a whole lot more personal. Think about it. Inside your head right now are about 86 billion neurons, all firing away, creating these incredible, complex patterns. We can watch them. We can track the electrical signals, we can map the connections, but how does all that buzzing electricity create the feeling of being you, the joy you feel, the taste of your favorite food, or just the simple fact that you know you're, well, you? This is the heart of what's called the hard problem of consciousness. See, there's an easy problem, and I'm using air quotes here because it's not actually easy. That's figuring out which bits of your brain light up when you see the color red. And we're making real progress there. But the hard problem is, why do you experience redness? Why is there a subjective feeling of seeing red at all? There's this huge gap between the physical stuff happening in the brain and the private movie playing inside your head. And look, there are some really smart theories out there trying to explain it. But right now, none of them can actually build that bridge. We can describe the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of what your brain is doing, but we still can't explain that magic spark, the actual feeling of what it's like to be you. All right, for our last mystery, we're going to do a little time traveling. We're heading back to the early 1900s to a super remote part of Siberia for a real-life detective story about one of the most powerful explosions humans have ever recorded. Picture this. It's the morning of June 30th, 1908. People in Siberia see this brilliant fireball blazing across the sky. And then, bam, a catastrophic explosion that flattens a huge area of forest. We're talking bigger than most major cities. The blast was so powerful, it knocked people down hundreds of kilometers away. Just to give you some scale here, the energy from that blast was about 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb at Hiroshima. 1,000 times. It's just an unbelievable amount of power. So an explosion that powerful has to leave a massive crater, right? I mean, that's just common sense. Well, here's the mystery. When scientists finally managed to get to this super remote area years later, they found exactly what you'd expect: millions of trees blown outwards from a central point. But right at the center, ground zero, where there should have been a giant hole in the ground, nothing. No crater, no pieces of a meteorite, nada. So how do you get a mega explosion with no impact? Well, the best theory we have is something called an airburst. The idea is that a space rock, probably a comet or a fragile asteroid, came screaming into our atmosphere. The pressure and heat built up so fast that it exploded miles up in the sky. It basically vaporized itself completely before ever touching the ground. All that incredible energy was released as a shockwave that just flattened everything below, which explains why there was no crater. So think about what we've just looked at. We've got the invisible stuff that makes up almost all of the universe, we've got the mystery of our own minds, and we have this historic explosion that left no crater. They seem totally unrelated, right? But they all teach us the same really important thing about science. You see, science isn't just about confirming what we already know. Its real purpose, its real power, is to stand at the edge of the map and stare out into the unknown. These huge, unanswered questions, they aren't failures. They're the opposite. They are the fuel. They're what drives our curiosity and pushes us to discover what's next. And in the end, that's what's so cool about all this. These mysteries remind us that for every single answer we figure out, we usually end up with a bunch of new, even more interesting questions. And you know what? Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the best part of the whole adventure.